With week number 1 of the NFL now in the books, we can officially say the 2022 football season is underway. We previously only offered 30-day NFL packages and 30-day college football packages, but because you asked, we have now added a 30-day NFL and college football combo. If you regularly buy the same handicapper week by week, not only will you save money, but more importantly, you will receive the selections immediately once they are released, allowing you to lock in the best available line and beat the line moves. While a 30-day NFL or college football package sells for $149 each, we want to make a splash for the first week of this combo package. Through Sunday, September 18th, get the NFL and college football combo for only $199. Yes, that's 30 days of NFL and 30 days of college football for under $100 per sport. This special is available at both WagerTalk and Sports Memo, allowing you to bet football right alongside your favorite handicapper for the next 30 days for only $6.63 per day.
Welcome, everybody, to WagerTalk Today. It is Friday. I'm excited about that. I'm Lawrence Presman. He's Teddy Covers, and we got a really good show for you guys lined up. Football all the way through. We got Steve Merril joining us, a late-minute add to this show, and he's going to talk one NFL game and one college football game. Dave Cokin is coming on. He's doing the same, Teddy. He's going to look at the Air Force Wyoming and Green Bay Packer Bears game. And of course, Andy Lang at the end of the show, some prop bets for this weekend in football. How are you, brother?
I'm doing great. Just to make sure that everyone knows, we're going to be talking Texas Tech and NC State and Patriots and Steelers with Steve Merril, as well as Coke and Air Force Wyoming and Bears Packers and all the props from Andy Lang. I'm doing all right, Prez. How about yourself?
Yeah, no complaints. I lost last night's NFL game. I had the over in that game, and oh man, I was kind of hoping they picked up that onside kick. I felt like, how appropriate would that be, given Herbert's injury and an opportunity to really put a game down where, 20 years from now when they show his highlights, it would have been on it. But alas, that didn't happen. However, Teddy, if you bet Kansas City when they were down in the second half, you covered. If you bet the over when it was a low-scoring first half, you covered. And that's important because I mentioned it yesterday, and it's something that I have been doing on a regular basis. So pay attention to that stuff, specifically with the Kansas City Chiefs. Brother, how are you? What did we learn in the wonderful world of sports betting?
So we got to talk about Amazon Prime's NFL debut last night.
Yep.
Because the DirecTV is negotiating with the NFL for Sunday Ticket. The contract expires at the end of the season, and all the streaming services are interested. Amazon Prime, Apple TV. I've heard multiple names bandied about. There's a hidden benefit to the league for the streaming services and to the streaming services themselves compared to your standard TV networks. Why? You can't click around during commercials. There's no checking to see what's on the other channels. That stood out to me last night. You saw it on Twitter last night. Everyone's saying, what do we do during the commercials? What does that mean? It means more eyeballs on the commercials. What does that mean? It means higher advertising rates. What does that mean? It means that the streaming services can offer more money to the NFL than DirecTV can offer. DirecTV is super expensive. I've been a client for since I moved to Vegas. Now I got Paramount and Disney and Roku, and I don't need it anymore. And when an old guy like me realizes he doesn't need it anymore, the only reason I have it is NFL Sunday Ticket.
Yeah.
NFL Sunday Ticket leaves DirecTV. I'll put it this way. Short AT&T stock because ain't nobody sticking around. That was my take last night, and I thought the Amazon was fine. No, other than the fact that you couldn't click around during commercials, I thought it was fine. The broadcast quality, you wouldn't have noticed the difference between that and a regular network show.
I mean, for me, my only remark is I'm not a Kirk Herbstreit fanatic by any means. I don't think he's that great in the booth. But other than that, I was on edibles with 20 buddies. We were playing foosball. You know that game, foosball?
Yes.
Yeah. I suck at it, dude. That is for damn sure. Okay, guys, let's get some business out of the way. First and foremost, the NFL presidential address is up. It went up last night. 3,000 of you guys have already watched the show. I really, really appreciate the positive comments. Make sure to check it out over at our WagerTalk TV channel. Secondly is, Teddy, I don't know if you know this, but head office, me, Rick, Johnny, we put in a bid for football. We wanted to stream it on WagerTalk TV on our YouTube channel. Did not go well. No. We offered $63 per game. And it was... Anyway, I got a big card this weekend. We'll talk about that later, and we'll also talk about yours. Let's bring Steve Merril in. He's got a hard stop. Steve, thanks for coming on, man. We had you're a late replacement, so I really do greatly appreciate it. And you're going to be hosting next Thursday, and you're going to be hosting the following Monday, which happens to be Rosh Hashanah for the Jewish people. So Teddy's decision if he'll be doing that show, but I won't be. Welcome, dude.
Good seeing you, boys. And Teddy, might be a little late to short AT&T. They're down 43% the last 5 years, and the stock is down 20% in the last year. So looks like some of that short money's already come in.
Yeah. That said, if they lose Sunday Ticket, the AT&T stock will crash because ain't nobody buying that product without. So that's the only thing keeping Sunday Ticket afloat, or DirecTV afloat,
right,
in this bettor's opinion. And as for me missing whatever show for whatever holiday, Prez, I ain't missing any shows. Not between now and Thanksgiving.
That's totally fine by me, dude. You know what? Do the show twice a day for all I care. Dan?
He does.
Daddy's
he does it
gonna
5 times on his
Wager
own in his office.
Yeah, exactly. You do you, Teddy. You do you. Steve, let's get straight into it, man. New England -2 now. The total in this game is 40.5. Look, if I'm going to bet New England, I'm going to take them on the money line. We've been through this with Ralph. Anything 2 and under is a money line bet from my perspective. I'm curious how you're betting this game, man, and I'm really curious. I'm going to kick back and listen.
Yeah, I mean, money line's -130. As you said, New England's gone from 1.5 up to -2. Yeah, I mean, you could make an argument either way. Look, 3 is a key number still. So whenever it's less than 3, 2.5 or less, I still kind of like the point spread. But there's not a huge difference, -130, -110 on the juice. So I do get that a couple points in play there. But the reason I wanted to talk about this game was, of course, I'll have my NFL Fade the Public video this Saturday afternoon here on WagerTalk TV. And I always talk in that video how, on the blind, about 60% of the time, the public plays favorites, right? So to say a play is really public as a favorite, it has to be like maybe 70, 80% consensus. But what we don't see much is even over 50% on dogs. And once I see more than 60, 65% consensus on a dog in the NFL, and it doesn't happen much. We're talking about only a handful of times during the season. It really catches my attention. And we have a few of them this week. I actually talked about one of them earlier this week in the Seattle-San Francisco right here on this show. And that analysis on Wednesday, Seattle's looking like a public dog. But the biggest public dog this week, maybe the biggest public dog we'll see all season, is the Pittsburgh Steelers. So a little foreshadowing of my NFL Fade the Public video for Saturday. We're going to talk about this game now. Is Pittsburgh is looking very public. So the way I use my public information is I make a short list, right? And then I start to look, can I make a case for the other side? And I think you can definitely make a case for New England here. It's a little bit of an ugly pick. Obviously, they didn't look good losing 20-7 at Miami. But first of all, they had a 3-0 turnover deficit in that game. Obviously, a 3-0 turnover deficit, you should lose. And second of all, the way Pittsburgh won that game last week, I know many people out there watched it. I watched that whole fourth quarter and overtime. Pittsburgh's winning outright till 4 seconds to go. Cincinnati ties the game, and then they get the extra point blocked to send it to overtime. So Pittsburgh lives to fight another quarter. Both teams miss a field goal. Cincinnati bonks it off the upright on like a 53-yard attempt to win the game in overtime. And then Pittsburgh eventually gets the winning field goal late. So they basically played an additional extra quarter of football. It was almost like an extra game with all the emotional ups and downs. That was a division rival, and it was the defending conference champs. Normally playing the Patriots wouldn't be a letdown spot, but I think this could be a little bit of a flat spot for Pittsburgh. And New England is a big-time contrarian play. And as you said, Prez, the line's gone from 1.5 to 2. This is a sharp square divide as well. I like New England in this game.
So I certainly wouldn't talk you off New England in this concept. And I certainly wouldn't talk, anytime you have one team was +5 in turnovers, the other team was -3 in turnovers in 1 week, you don't expect that to carry over necessarily to the next week, not with these two teams anyway. But I have to ask you about New England now, okay? This is a team, they started last year, went 2-4. And they got hot and won 7 in a row. They closed out last year and lost 4 of their last 5. So 2-4, 7-0, 1-4 down the stretch, and they lost their opener this year. So now they're 1-5, dating back to last season. Was that 7-game hot streak, that winning streak last year, midseason, just an aberration? And this team's just not that good? I mean, they didn't look good in the preseason. They didn't look good against Miami week 1. The offense hasn't worked. Can we trust New England to move the football against a good defense in Pittsburgh?
I'm not sure we can trust New England this season. And that's why I kind of called it a little bit of an ugly duckling pick, because I do think the Patriots are regressing, but they still got Belichick, who's one of the best game planners in football. And I still think the defense is good, and that's what they're going to have to rely on. I don't think offensively they're going to be a powerhouse anymore. They're going to have to win this game defensively. I think they can slow down a Pittsburgh team that, once again, as you said, Teddy, they had 5-0 turnover edge last week. This team barely had over 260 total yards of offense, and that was with an extra quarter. That was basically 5 quarters of football. They only had 260 yards. So I think New England's defense will be the strongest unit on the field this week. I think long-term Patriots might not even be a playoff team this year, but I like the spot this week for New England.
Steve, I want to ask you something about this game too, because we all talk about New England, and I feel like they're not going to be in the top half of points put on the board this year. Do you guys realize New England last year averaged 27 points a game? They were, I think, the 6th highest scoring team in the league. They really didn't change all that much. Why this year are all of us, me included, thinking this is going to be a low-scoring team?
I got to jump in. When you say
no, go ahead, Teddy.
When you say they didn't change that much, Prez, they changed offensive coordinator. Josh McDaniels is now the Raiders head coach here in Las Vegas. And the two guys there's no official offense coordinator, but the two guys who were calling plays in the preseason, neither of whom had any play calling experience in their history. So that's a huge change for New England in the offseason. I'm sorry, Steve. I didn't mean to cut in on you, but
get your take on that, Teddy. I was going to kind of piggyback on what you said earlier. They didn't finish that strong. And if you look at their last 6 games last year, including the playoff loss, they had 24 points or less present 5 of those 6 games. They had 21 or less in 4 of their last 6. So, I feel like the offensive momentum was definitely less in the second half of the season. I feel like that's more likely to carry into this year.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I was on the under in the New England Miami game. I just find it fascinating. The offensive coach, hugely important. But the personnel is very similar, minus James White. Steve, Texas Tech at NC State. NC State now minus 10.5, money coming in on them. How do we bet this game?
Yeah, I teased the NFL Fade the Public video. Well, I'll tease my other weekend video, and that's my college football top 25 video here on the channel as well. And I just recorded that actually about a half hour ago. That'll be on later tonight on Friday. We'll have it here on the channel. Hit subscribe. We're at 101,000 subscribers. And more importantly, hit that bell for an instant alert the minute my college football top 25 video goes live tonight. And that NFL Fade the Public is posted Saturday. You can be the first to watch it and take some advantage of that actionable info. And there's actually only 2 true top 25 matchups, guys, this week. Week 3 and 4 are kind of the quietest, because we always get some of those big non-conference games in weeks 1 and 2, and now everyone's playing non-conference for a couple more weeks. So there's only 2 true head-to-head top 25s. But then I gave 2 bonus games that were just a bit outside for making the cut. And this is actually one of them here, as Texas Tech is not ranked. NC State is actually ranked 16th in the AP poll. Texas Tech, obviously, but they're getting some votes. So Texas Tech with the upset win here could sneak in, but I don't think that happens. I think NC State actually moves even higher in the rankings after this week, because I make them a 14-point favorite in my power ratings in this game. And as you said, Prez, the line is currently only 10.5. It opened as low as 9.5. I disagree with that number. Once again, I make the line 14, so not surprised to see it go to 10. Mostly 10.5s out there now, and I even seen 11 at Caesars. So if you could still find minus 10, I would jump on North Carolina State, as it looks like this line is going higher. If not, if you like Texas Tech, I would wait and get at least probably a plus 11 by Saturday. I do like NC State in this game, though. One of the reasons I think the line is a little cheaper than it should be is the fact that NC State did not look good in their opener a couple weeks ago at East Carolina. They were a 12-point road favorite. They only won 21-20, a very lackluster win there. Can't read anything into the 55-3 win against Charleston Southern last week. So this is their first true test, but they remain at home, and I think it's a bad scheduling spot for Texas Tech. First road game of the season, and they're coming off an overtime win against in-state rival Houston last week. That was a high-profile game for both schools. Not only did they get the win barely, a little bit of a misleading win, you could say 33-30, but it went to overtime, and now they have to travel. So I like the setup here for NC State, and then on top of that, we're getting some line value. NC State Wolfpack, that's worth a look on Saturday, and that game goes at 7 p.m. Eastern.
Yeah, it really is an interesting game, and it's an interesting point spread because my number 2 came out a little bit higher. I've talked to a couple other people whose numbers also came out a little bit higher, and yet the markets aren't going nuts on NC State, who's been a great home favorite. I got them 13-6 ATS against the spread at home over the past 4 years prior to this season. So they've been good in this role. And with Texas Tech, you also have not only the letdown off of Houston, they've got Texas at home next week. So it's a letdown / look ahead for the Red Raiders. And yet the line is still short. Something stood out to me last week with the Texas Tech Houston game, and I watched that game pretty closely. Red Raiders defense is good this year. Maybe really good. It's surprised to have. I mean, I shouldn't say surprising, but how good it was. They kept Texas Tech in the game for quarters when the offense wasn't clicking. Do you worry about laying double digits into what might be an underrated and maybe better than expected defense?
Yeah, and I think the other thing that concerns you, of course, is that NC State offensively was pretty lackluster in that East Carolina game. And I think that I go back to that again, Teddy. I think both offensively and just from the narrow win, I think that is why this line is lower than your power ratings, my power ratings, some other sharps out there. And you make a good point. And whenever you have what's considered somewhat of a defensive dog, you probably have to bump the line a little bit. But if it is a flat spot for Texas Tech, and I think it is, I've always said that I think the letdowns happen more on defense because it's such a physical game. If there's a fatigue factor, a little bit less effort, I think you see that more defensively. So you can make a case this might be a weaker defensive game for Texas Tech than you would normally expect.
Steve Merril, everyone. Outstanding stuff, brother. Thanks for coming on, talking sports, providing us with some actionable info. You had about a half an hour's notice. You killed it. Real quick, 30 seconds. What do you need? What do you have to promote?
Yeah, so we enter Friday on at 8-1, 89% all sports run this week in football and baseball. So obviously we're running really hot. 5-0 sweep last Sunday and Monday in the NFL. And right now you can get 30 days of NFL and college each for less than $100 because it's $199 for a 30-day all-access college and pro football combo. 30 days of football, no promo code needed. Right now, Steve Merril, WagerTalk.com.
Awesome stuff. Teddy Covers, get ready, brother. You got your big game breakdown coming. Dave Cokin, Andy Lang. Before we get into that, what do you got going for your clients this weekend, brother?
Me?
Yeah, you.
You're asking me? Oh, wow. I don't know if you've ever asked me that before, Prez. We're locked and loaded with 6 plays on Sunday, including a 5% big ticket. 6 plays on Saturday, including a 5% big ticket. 3 more on Sunday. We're already involved in Monday Night Football. So 10 plays overall. Get on board right now over at WagerTalk.com.
Yeah, I'm one behind you. I got 3 college football plays up, and I have a 5-pack for Sunday, including a 5% play as well. All my plays will go up by 3 p.m. Eastern today. Guys, if you're going to buy the 3-day all-access pass, that is our most purchased pass every Friday. That's what you should get. You'll get 3 days of anyone's plays, full all-access. Teddy, get ready. We'll be right back.
How many handicapping groups can say they were around before Twitter, MySpace, AOL, Sunday morning cable infomercials, beepers, and 1-800 numbers? In the 65th year of operation, the Gold Sheet team is better than ever. Including the NFL preseason, Gold Sheet's LTS selections are 21-6 to start the 2022 football season, including an 11-1 mark this past weekend. If you're ready to play side by side with the country's longest running sports betting newsletter, act now to take $200 off the Gold Sheets NFL and college football combo. No coupon is needed to redeem this offer. Just go to the Gold Sheets homepage at WagerTalk or Sports Memo and lock in one of the most respected handicapping groups of all time for one of the lowest prices ever offered. Get every top-rated college football play between now and the national championship game at regular price, and we'll add in their full season of NFL picks through the Super Bowl for just $100 more.
It is time for today's big game breakdown. Let's talk some Saturday night national TV college football. This should be a fun one as Michigan State travels to Seattle to take on the Washington Huskies. Right now, looking at the WagerTalk live odds screen, I'm seeing mostly 3.5s for Washington. There are -4s popping up. Total is sitting in the 56.5 range as we speak here on Friday morning in Las Vegas. And look, this line was available all summer to bet. All summer, Washington was pick 'em against Michigan State. Sometimes there were +1s for the Huskies against Michigan State. So Michigan State was pick 'em or favored all summer. This is what's happened so far this football season. Sparty, 52-0 over Akron. Sparty, 35-13 over Western Michigan. Washington, 52-6 over FCS Portland. Washington, 45-20 over Kent. I guess they had an easier time with Kent than Oklahoma. That's not enough to change the point spread 4 points, okay? There's nothing we've seen out of Michigan State bad, and there's nothing that's been so impressive from Washington. It's like, oh, yeah, that merits a significant power rating adjustment. I'm not buying it, all right? I understand that last year Washington was further down than we're used to seeing this program. And I understand that last year that Michigan State was on the lucky side. They won a bunch of coin flip games. Everything went in their favor. And obviously Kenneth Walker left in the offseason. It was the focal point of the offense. But if you're paying attention to what Mel Tucker's doing in East Lansing, the recruiting, the transfers coming in, the level of preparation week in, week out, this team can't be dogs in Seattle. I think the Spartans are live. I think they're live to win. And this total sitting at, well, again, we're talking about two defensive-minded football teams that want to run the football, and we're looking at a total of 56.5. That, to me, seems a bit high as well. I like the Spartans, and I like the under Saturday night college football in Seattle national TV action. There's your big game breakdown. Back to you, Mr. Prez.
Teddy covers. Let's bring Dave Cokin in right away. And Dave, normally in the first chair, thank you for being amendable today. Welcome to WagerTalk Today, my brother.
Nice to see you guys. Good breakdown on the Michigan State-Washington game. I'd add one thing to that. Thorne's going to be sharper than he was the first 2 weeks at quarterback for Michigan State. He's got to play better. He's got the capabilities of doing so. If he plays to his level, yeah, I like the Sparty side. Washington, by the way, last year, I think you put an X, big X, for the season. The Lake regime was a disaster, absolute disaster. And they're in better shape than they were a year ago. That's a good football game. Might be the best game in the card this weekend.
There you go. Dave Cokin with some thoughts on a game we were not going to discuss. But we are discussing Air Force Wyoming, Dave, and this game goes tonight. It is -16.5 for Air Force. The total 47. I'm assuming they expect Wyoming to put nothing more than 13 up on the board, give or take. How are you going to bet this one?
Well, I want to talk about Air Force big picture because they are this year's favorite to be the Group of Five representative in a New Year's Day Bowl. Because if you look at their schedule, they're favored to win every game. What's really going to be interesting is if they win all those games and win them impressively, how much noise is there going to be for them to capture one of the 4 playoff spots? I'm not making a case. I want to make it clear. I am not making a case that Air Force is one of the 4 best teams in the country. They're not. But it's Air Force. And if they're unbeaten and win these games by margins, there's going to be a lot of argument to make them a playoff team. And that, to me, is something that you have to factor in to the weekly analysis with Air Force. These kids aren't stupid. They know that they not only need to win these games, they need to win impressively. And they weren't shy about scoring a few extra points last week against Colorado. And I think that's something you better bear in mind with these games moving forward. And it plays into tonight. I think the line's a little bit high, but I would be very fearful of going against the Air Force because, first of all, they run the same offense the whole 4 quarters anyway. But I think this is a team that, as long as they're staying unbeaten, they might have that added motivation to make it look really good to the public and the selection committee. Wyoming, not much. Pretty good defensively against the run. That's typical of Craig Bull's teams. But stopping this run game is going to be difficult. My number says it's a little bit inflated, but I'd only play Air Force anyway.
So, Dave, I got to ask you. I mean, one thing, when you look at the series history here, I understand this year's teams are different teams.
Yeah.
But it's not like these two coaches haven't met up a bunch of times. They meet every year. And you go back and look, the last 6 meetings, Air Force hasn't gotten more than 27 points in any of them. You know, Wyoming has defended them better than the average team. Does that concern you here in this point spread range?
You seen Wyoming play so far this year?
Yes.
They don't have any players. They lost. I mean, they lost 2 defensive players to the NFL, and 6 other guys transferred out. I mean, they just don't have any depth, and Air Force can wear you down. If you like Wyoming, my opinion, if you like Wyoming, bet them in the first half. If you're playing full game, bet Air Force. I think the Falcons could wear them out here. Sorry about that, Prez.
No, all good, dude. I thought you stopped, and I got to jump right in. Otherwise, Teddy's going to lecture me or do his scowl. I don't know if you've ever seen Teddy scowl, even behind his glasses. Anyway, Dave, before we get into the Green Bay Packer Chicago Bears game, you have a big card up for college football this weekend. Why don't you tell us about it?
Yeah, this is kind of rare for me. I got 12 games, 8 college and 4 NFL. The 4 NFL isn't that unusual. I did okay last weekend, and I like some games this weekend. The 8's a big number for me in college. Now, I didn't go nuts on any of the games. So there's some 2s, there's some 3s, there's some 4s. But I found value in a couple of games where I think the marketplace is dead wrong. And added those 2 games this morning. Some other matchups I like, and let's just see what happens. This won't be a weekly thing for me. You're not going to be getting 8 games a week from me in college football, but this week you got them. And I think you got a pretty good chance of having a nice result. So that all-access pass for the weekend is a pretty good value, I would say.
Yeah, and guys, take advantage of that. It's 3-day all-access pass to any handicapper of your choice. It's the best package to buy from us on a Friday if you want to go through the whole weekend with your favorite handicapper. Dave, let's turn our attention to Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers, -10. We have a 9.5 on the board, but it's pretty much 10.
Yeah, it's 10.
Yeah, and it's the total again, 41.5, 42. Here's another game where the bookmakers are telling you they don't expect Chicago to put up that many points. I'd love to hear your take on this game.
I don't need the bookmakers to tell me that the Bears aren't going to score a lot of points. And in fact, I would anticipate that 99.9% of the people watching this thing right now also know this is not a Chicago team that's going to score a lot of points. They've got no speed at the skill positions, which is it's amazing. Last week, they were horrible. The weather helped them, and we'll give Fields credit for a great ad-lib where San Francisco's had a breakdown defensively, and you got a guy wide open for a touchdown. They're a bad football team, though, and that was a fluky win. Green Bay, I forget the receiver who dropped the pass. It was wide open.
Watson.
Watkins.
Yeah. This is you don't want to be in this Mr. Rogers neighborhood when you do something like that. He's not like the guy who was on TV for all those years. And the look on his face after that, I think the Packers are coming out in a nasty frame of mind here. And remember, last year they had an awful opening week. And from that point on, they became the Green Bay Packers. I think that's what's going to happen here. And Aaron Rodgers against the Bears, unbelievable. I mean, he has completely owned this team. Saw this, I think it was in the gold sheet. Last 8 years, that's 16 games against the Bears. Aaron Rodgers has a touchdown to interception ratio, 40 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. I think the Packers are going to kill him. I did play the game. I laid the 10. I don't know why this line would come down. I think it goes up on Sunday night. Green Bay's on my card this weekend.
Yeah.
So the Bears' offense is very much a work in progress. The Bears'
that's a nice
defense played well enough last week to win the game. Okay. Green Bay's defense got picked apart by Minnesota. And when you look at this Packers offense, the offensive line, Runyon's got a concussion. Jenkins has a knee injury. Bectari's got a knee injury. Do we worry at all about the Bears blowing up the line of scrimmage and Rodgers continuing to have chemistry issues with his young receiving core? When you're laying double digits, you don't want either one of those two things to happen.
Yeah, I guess so. But the nice part is if Green Bay gets out in front, how's Chicago going to catch up?
Yeah.
I think it's the worst offense in the league. They just don't have playmakers. And, Fields might ad-lib his way to a score or two every game, but he's not real good in the pocket. And their offensive line is a train wreck. And as for the 49ers last week, I think it was a fluke. I mean, the yardage, all the numbers say 49ers should have won the football game. And they should have won the football game. We'll see what the 49ers do this week. I generally like taking teams off games where they clearly should have won the game and something went wrong. And I don't mind playing against teams that clearly should have lost the game and something went right. So we'll see what happens in that Seattle-San Francisco game as well. Anyway, let's go get them.
Dave Cokin, everyone. Awesome work, Dave. Best of luck this weekend, guys. Remember, Dave is a low-volume handicapper, a low-volume bettor, and he's got an 8-pack of college football plays up. So this is a big, big weekend for him. He clearly likes a lot of plays on the card. Teddy, any thoughts from you on this Green Bay game? I sit here and I look at this Green Bay game and I'm thinking, we've seen this story before. Green Bay every year, they have that terrible game. Rodgers makes a press conference, tells everyone to relax, and then the next game they destroy. Is this the same story, or with such young wide receivers and an offense that was just so completely out of sync last week, is this not the same Green Bay Packer team?
So I'm not playing the game. Let me start there. But I do not trust Green Bay right now. Green Bay is going to have to show me. And there seems to be this thought process in the betting marketplace that, the Packers have done this before. They'll be fine. Yeah. Don't worry, Aaron Rodgers will be fine. Aaron Rodgers is older now. Aaron Rodgers has even more off-field, things that he's involved with now. The receiving core, is it the weakest receiving core in the NFL? It's certainly not one of the strongest. Let's see if Lazard plays this week. Maybe that'll help them. The offensive line is in disarray. But the biggest concern for me last week was that Green Bay's defense was supposed to be good, and they got gashed start to finish. So, there's this prevailing mentality among bettors. The Packers, it'll be no big deal. They did it last year. They did it the relaxed year. This is just Green Bay, and it takes them a while to get going. All that was then. This is now. That said, you want to look at a good track record, look at LaFleur off a loss. All right.
Yeah.
The Packers have been money in the bank off a loss the last 2 years. So I'm not playing Chicago here, but I'm not laying with Green Bay either. It's a very easy pass.
No, I'm with you, dude. I mean, it's one of those games where Chicago, if you're going to fluke a touchdown, do it on your first drive. Lower that inline opportunity for us and come back on the pack. Andy Lang, everyone. And Andy, before we get into anything, brother, let's talk about your TikToks. Guys, we've got a TikTok channel over at WagerTalk. I put mine up. I got another 2 going up later today, which are not as narcissistic as the first one, but are, I think, pretty damn funny. Dude, your TikToks are sensational.
You were made for TikTok. Just those short, really funny bursts of energy. I'm very excited to see Prez has discovered TikTok. So yeah, it's a great platform. It's really come a long way. There's a lot of good entertainment on there. There's also some good information. So I'm excited to help build the TikTok channel for WagerTalk.
Okay, well, Andy, here, let's see if we can. Here is the TikTok from the Prez.
No, Lawrence. It's
Why
not.
don't you just send them to the TikTok channel to
Yeah.
watch?
Yeah,
the
I will,
actual
but
TikTok.
it was so. Anyway. Okay, it didn't work. Hey,
Go to
we
TikTok.
tried shit,
Give us
and
a
it
like and a
doesn't
follow.
work. Flex Friday, bitches. Andy,
Yes.
I gotta calm Z out. Okay, you got some prop bets for us, Terry McLaren, Christian Kirk, Russell Wilson. I'm just gonna hand it to you. You go through them all. Teddy will pick which one he wants to talk about.
All right, let's do it. Well, I'm quarantined in my office all week, and I'm doing nothing but sleeping and researching. So I know these props inside and out this week. It's pretty fun. Let's start with Terry McLaurin over 58.5 yards receiving. The Detroit secondary is just not good. In 2021, they ranked as the 30th worst secondary in the league. Last week, even though they got Akuda back, they gave up 10 catches and 155 yards to A.J. Brown. Big name and number one wide receivers do really good against them. I'm going to give you a list of players. Here we go. Alan Lazard, Josiah DeQuara, Freddie Swain, DK Metcalf, Kyle Pitts, Christian Kirk, Zach Ertz, AJ Green, Justin Jefferson twice, Darnell Mooney, Cole Kmet, Deontay Johnson, Ray McLeod III, Dallas Goedert, Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, Jamar Chase, Mark Andrews, Sammy Watkins, Devontae Adams, Deebo Samuel, and George Kittle. All players that had over 58.5 yards receiving against Detroit last year. McLaurin only had 2 catches, but it was his first game between him and Carson Wentz. I think he gets more targets this week against a bad secondary. This is a really good game for Wentz and McLaurin to kind of get in the groove against a bad secondary. I think he goes over this total. I'm also taking Christian Kirk over 57.5 yards receiving. I follow my Colts very closely. I said throughout the entire preseason and offseason, fade the Colts secondary. They're not very good. I thought they were the worst unit on the Colts, but then I saw our kicker and quickly decided that's our worst unit, but they cut him. So now the secondary is back to being the worst unit on the Colts. Brandon Cooks easily cashed for us on his over-receiving total last week, despite the fact that Davis Mills was bad. I watched that game, and even as bad as he was, Brandon Cooks still got open. So Trevor Lawrence threw for 275 yards last week. Kirk had 12 targets, 6 catches for 117 yards. And when you look at the Colts team, this is a good strategy. Just take the overs on the opponent's number one wide receivers. Shaq Leonard may play this week, but he's still coming back from an injury. DeForest Buckner on the defensive line does not look like he's going to play. And the Colts, their defensive front is hurt. They're not going to be able to put a ton of pressure. I don't see a big improvement in the secondary from week 1 to week 2. Christian Kirk has got a low number. Jump on these number one wide receivers that are going up against the Colts.
Andy. Andy, before we go on, guys, I just want to say, hit that like button. Come on. And you guys in there who think Andy is on ayahuasca, no, Andy's on sickbed. Teddy, any quick questions so far?
Yeah, sure. I definitely want to ask Andy about McLaurin over 58.5, because you were talking about all the defenses that Detroit faced last year, all the number one receivers that Detroit faced last year when they didn't have a pass rush. In theory, this year they have a pass rush. And in theory, that means opposing quarterbacks are going to have to get the ball out of their hand quicker. And in theory, Washington's offensive line is, well, shall we say, not elite. Does that concern you at all from a guy that only had 2 catches and 4 targets last week. It's not like there's a great chemistry already between Wentz and McLaurin.
No, because I was keeping a really close eye on what A.J. Brown was going to do, and he was with a new quarterback and 10 catches and 155 yards. I mean, they lit him up. Obviously, huge gap in the offensive lines. I mean, Philly's offensive line is, I think it's probably unanimous. It's 1 or 2 in the league. It's just a fade on this Detroit secondary. The 2 catches for 58 yards last week almost makes me like it a little bit more because I think we're getting a lower number. So I think they got the first game out of the way. They got another full week of practice in. So I was keeping a really close eye to see if this number 1 wide receiver, taking the overs on the number 1 wide receiver against Detroit. It cashed easily. I believe his over hit in the early part of the second quarter. So I'm going to go back to it on number 1 wide receivers being good against Detroit.
And keep in mind, everybody, Andy is sick, and all he's doing is researching NFL prop bets. That's it. Nothing else. Anyway, guys, 12 more likes if you want a daily presidential address. I got some NFL picks for you. Andy Lang, speaking of the NFL, Russell Wilson, I think he's coming into this game quite angry, ready to roll. You got a prop bet for us on him. What is it?
Yeah, this has been a great one over the last couple of years. Russell Wilson in the first part of the year going over his longest completion. They have this set at 36.5 yards. He hit this in the first 3 games of last year, and he hit it in the first 9 games of 2020. This was another one I was keeping my eye on. Sure enough, he got a deep shot in, so he hit it the first week of the season. He's playing the Texans, who gave up 352 yards passing to the Colts last week. I don't think the Texans are going to be able to stop these wide receivers. Wilson is going to be taking some deep shots. He's motivated. This is just a really good play. Russell Wilson in warm weather. And as the year goes on, you see him kind of tailor off. He plays in cold weather. He goes under. So as long as we got good weather and a bad secondary, I'm going to take Russell Wilson to complete at least 1 long pass.
So, Lovie Smith always plays 2 safeties deep. All the receiving guards that Indy had last week, the long pass for the day was 28 to Pittman. Are you worried at all about Wilson being forced to dink and dunk by what Houston does with their coverages? Because, that's the Lovie Smith game plan, is force opponents to dink and dunk, and you got to beat us that way. Does that concern you at all about this one?
Yeah, there's always concerns going into a play. I was not surprised in the slightest that the Colts didn't have a long pass. We do not have a deep threat. It was Matt Ryan. It was Matt Ryan's first game. He used Pittman beautifully. I'm excited to watch those 2 this year, but I'm not going to be playing any Matt Ryan overs longest completions in any game. So Lovie is going to try and do it, but I also think that it's going to be a little bit difficult for Lovie to plan for this offense. I think Russell is going to get at least 1 broken play. He's so good at these broken plays and hitting a guy deep. Sometimes, Teddy, you got to roll the dice a little bit. Russell Wilson loves his deep balls, and I think he gets at least 1 of them in this one.
Awesome work, Andy. Listen, I hope you feel better, brother. You got the prop show coming later?
We recorded Prop It Up earlier this morning. It's up on YouTube. And
nice.
Yesterday, we recorded our 2nd episode of Inside the Distance, WagerTalk's UFC show. Everything you need to know about betting on the UFC event. Myself, Kyle Anthony, and Matt Wallace. It is a fantastic show. It's going to make you a lot of money on the UFC side of things. So go check that out. It's on WagerTalk's YouTube channel. Excited to build that up. And we're running a special because I'm stuck in my office for another 5 days. The great Johnny Detroit came up with the lockdown special. You can get the next 5 days of quarantine with me for only $49. It includes all 5% plays. We do have a 5% UFC play up. We do have a 5% NFL play up. So I'm stuck in the office, but like we said in the write-up, I'm lonely yet profitable. So come join me 5 days for $49.
Yeah, lonely yet profitable. Sounds like Jeff Bezos. Andy, what was I just going to ask you?
I think you were to tell me we're up against it. Tell me goodbye. Yeah.
Okay. Get the hell out of here. Oh, yeah, I was going to ask Andy how that MMA show actually came about. How did that show come about, Andy?
I gave you props on the very first episode that we did. I said, of all people, Lawrence Presman was the very first one to say we need to do this show when I presented it to you, and you got the ball rolling. I give you a ton of credit, as well as the great Chris Allen, who helped produce and come up with the format. So, Prez, thank you so much. I got my water. I got my Aaron Rodgers tea to hopefully make the 5 days go a little bit quicker. So thanks very much, guys.
Awesome. Yeah, listen, Teddy, anytime I can hear great things about me without me saying it, which I do 20 times a day, I want to hear that, man. I'm a narcissist. Time for the daily presidential address. All right, everybody. A great weekend ahead of us at WagerTalk.com. It's a perfect day, Friday, to buy the 3-day all-access pass. I've got a ton of college football bets up for Saturday. I've got a 5-pack of baseball going today, and I have a 5-pack of NFL going on Sunday, including a 5% play. So check that out. Also, the NFL presidential address is up. I take apart every single game on the board. It's about a 45-minute show this week. We go down. I gave out 17 bets on that show, 17 bets. So check it out. And also Megan Payton, Sean Payton's daughter, comes in and does some prop bets towards the end of the show. It's outstanding. As for some NFL bets for this weekend, look, these are leans for me, and I will likely bet about 1% of my bankroll on these plays. So when my normal plays are around 4%, this is about a 1% play, and that is the Cleveland Browns -6.5. I'm good with that line up to 7. I like Seattle Seahawks at plus anything over 7.5, which it currently is. And I also like the under in the New England Pittsburgh game. And I am still deciding whether to release that under as a client play, because that I would put that under at around a 2% and the other two in the 1% zone. So Cleveland and Seattle, and also the under in the New England Pittsburgh game. Teddy, my brother, I'm having a veal sandwich from California's. You, my friend, take us home.
Sure, that's going to wrap it up for the week here at Wager Talk Today. We'll do it again next week, each and every weekday, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon for you back east. I want to thank Dave Cokin, Steve Merril, and Andy Lang for joining us. I want to thank all of you out there in viewerland for taking time out of your busy day to spend with us right here on Wager Talk TV. If you haven't done so already, please download the brand spanking new Wager Talk TV app. Available at all. Download, and wherever you download your apps, get Wager Talk TV. You can watch us on demand at your leisure. Enjoy the games this weekend, and good luck.
With week number 1 of the NFL now in the books, we can officially say the 2022 football season is underway. We previously only offered 30-day NFL packages and 30-day college football packages, but because you asked, we have now added a 30-day NFL and college football combo. If you regularly buy the same handicapper week by week, not only will you save money, but more importantly, you will receive the selections immediately once they are released, allowing you to lock in the best available line and beat the line moves. While a 30-day NFL or college football package sells for $149 each, we want to make a splash for the first week of this combo package. Through Sunday, September 18th, get the NFL and college football combo for only $199. Yes, that's 30 days of NFL and 30 days of college football for under $100 per sport. This special is available at both Wager Talk and Sports Memo, allowing you to bet football right alongside your favorite handicapper for the next 30 days for only $6.63 per day.